Welcome back to the garage. That sounds stupid.
I feel like it sounds stupid. Hey guys. There you go. Go with that.
1, 2, 3, 4.
We are in the garage and working on a new project tonight, and it's actually Jenna's brother's 72 Nova. Needs a little bit of work. It's a small block car. This is a fresh built 383 set up for nitrous. It's got Holley Terminator X on it. It's got Holley remote mount coils on it. Bunch of good stuff, AFR heads. I don't know what he's got bottom end cam wise, but regardless, that stuff is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Everything from here back inside needs fixed. Wiring, we need to get the trans cross member put in it. It had a turbo 350 in it, and when he had the motor done, we ended up, just so happened, I had a turbo 400 laying around that I donated to the project, because what that motor should make NA plus, I think he has it set up for like a 200 or 300 shot of nitrous. Should make good numbers, and wanted something a little bit more bulletproof than the turbo 350 behind it. So anyhow, that's powertrain. Reason it's in here is, number one, we have to get it wired up. The fuel injection needs wired up, all that stuff, and cleaned up, because right now things are kind of just everywhere. So we're gonna get that stuff finished up. Jenna, you can show them back here under this. It's just a mess. We have like some bad connections. This was the alternator charge wire, which is too small to be running that distance, and it also just kind of pulled off of the terminal, which is no good. Anyhow, this is a no-go. The battery positive cable going to the kill switch is a smaller gauge than the actual cable running up to the starter. That's a no-go, so we have to fix that. And then inside under the dash is, yeah.
It's about what my car was. I'll go to the other side.
It's not the end of the world, but it's not great. Shed some light on it under here. Hey. So like it's got some concerns. There's like bare wires up under here. You can see that. And it's just got a lot of stuff everywhere. So we're gonna help him out, and we're gonna clean all that up and rewire it and make sure we fix all the janky connections and stuff like that. And then we've got, so Jason's, he's a little short, not like midget style short, but he's kind of
He's taller than me, at least.
vertically challenged. And it's got a set of Kirky racing seats in it, and they were bolted to the floor, and that puts your eyesight like here, and it's not a big car, but it's not comfortable at all.
Well, he has that scoop on it too, so you can barely see over the scoop.
That's right. Yeah. It's not on the roof. The hood's on the roof. That's why I looked up there. The other thing is, like, he couldn't reach the pedal to actually full throttle it. So, which that's not any fun. So I'm gonna build some seat brackets for him. Get him up and forward a little bit. Before we finalize that, obviously we'll have him over, make sure he's comfortable in the car. We gotta check roll bar height, which the roll bar is mounted in here. There's not much we can change, but we can change seat position. Also want to make sure, like, you know,
It's to the shoulder, right? The
It's gotta fall
sidebar.
between the elbow and the shoulder.
Okay. So anywhere in that, or is the best option to be like in the center?
Anywhere in between that.
Okay.
And then you want a certain distance from the top of the this bar to the helmet and stuff like that, which I don't think he'll have any issue there. So we gotta address that. Like I said, we gotta make a cross member for the Turbo 400 because the old 350 cross member does not fit anymore now with the Turbo 400 in there. I think we're going to address the parachute mount on it because it's not the best. I mean, it technically holds, but I don't know if it would actually hold if he needed it to. And then we're going to remount the shifter because right now it's like right up against the seat and it's low and it's just awkward. So ideally, like, it's got to be comfortable for who's racing the car. But anyhow, that's the latest project here. We got to get started on this. He's been, I don't even know when the last time was he drove this car.
It's been a while. Well, the last time he would have drove it is when he was taking it over to get the EFI installed on the motor, and then it lost a bearing.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So it would have been like 2-3 years, 4 years ago.
Yeah, he was taking it over to the shop, and it knocked number 3 rod bearing out of it on the way to the shop. So, and then I think that was right before COVID or right around COVID.
And then there was a wait on parts because of everything that was going on, and
yeah. So the shop like started running some of the EFI stuff, and which isn't hateful.
that stuff's alright.
It's just we ended up going and picking the car up from the shop. Hold on, let's rewind. So the day he blew the motor up on the way to the shop, I grabbed the truck and trailer, went and met him, picked it up, and then trailered the car the rest of the way to the shop. And that shop owner is he's a pretty nice guy. He actually let us come down and pull the motor while it was at the shop so we could get that taken over, like taken apart, taken to the machine shop and all that. In the meantime, he started getting some of the stuff ran, and then we kind of figured it was going to be
A minute
before we had the motor and stuff to go back in. So instead of the car just sitting in the shop waiting on that and taking up real estate, we went back and picked the car up and it's been back in her brother's possession ever since. He's just kind of, it doesn't have all the stuff he needs or the time to really get it together, and it's just kind of, it sucks because we go out and play and he's got this sitting there and he just works all the time and never gets a chance to do anything. So now it's at J2 Garage Works. We're going to get it back together, hopefully get it fired up, and then it's going to be on him to get it to the dyno and get it tuned on nitrous, because I'm not tuning it on the street on nitrous.
I mean, that would be some interesting videos.
I don't want to have to pay to fix that motor.
Touche. Touche.
So, anyhow, I guess we need to get started.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
The struggle is like, where do we start?
Well, I'll tell you where I like to start. And it's just, so everybody's got their preferences, right? But I always start with the things that have a specific spot and they can't move. So the starter can't move. It goes in one spot. The alternator can technically move, but in this application, it's got one spot and one bracket and everything that works. So that's in one spot. The battery's mounted in the trunk. That's in one spot. So
Kill switch.
and the kill switch. So I think what I want to start with is correct the main battery power feeds, grounds and power. We're going to make sure that we got it right from the battery to the kill switch, from the kill switch to the starter. Make sure we have good chassis grounds, like a ground from the engine block to the chassis, from the battery to the chassis, and then we're going to build off of that. So then we'll start adding circuits, components, that kind of stuff. But I want to make sure we have a good circuit, base ground power circuit for the car. And right now we don't have that. So that's where we're going to start when we actually start working. Previous to that, before we start to that point, we got to figure out what all this stuff is, where all of it goes, and how it's wired, and kind of draw that out a little bit so we don't run in or create issues for ourselves down the road. So anyhow, it's time to get to work.
Sounds good.
First, coffee. So, it's about a month later, so maybe longer. I don't remember. It all runs together. Well, hopefully you guys can hear me. It's raining. Had a thunderstorm roll through here. It's actually not as bad as it was about 10 minutes ago. It was deafening in here. Anyhow, so we've been working on the Nova, chipping away at it in evenings when I get home, and Jenna's been helping me on the weekends with it. Anyhow, so let's show you what we've gotten done. We're gonna need a flashlight, I believe, so you guys can see some of this stuff. So we started back here at the battery and the kill switch. You know, we talked about wanting to basically start with our main powers and grounds first. This battery cable was a smaller gauge wire than the actual wire traveling up to the starter. That would cause some issues there with voltage drop and whatnot. So put a 1 gauge battery cable on it, hooked it into, obviously, hooked it into our switch back here. And if you remember, the alternator wire was like a piece of like 12 or 14 gauge wire. It was way too small to carry the current from the front of the car back to here. And it was also mounted on the wrong, like it was just, it didn't work. So now our alternator charge cable is a piece of 8 gauge wire, runs from the alternator back to here. Well, it actually runs through a breaker first, but then it runs back to here. This is the battery post side of the kill switch. That way, in the event that you need to shut the car off, there are cases where the alternator will be putting out enough charge to continue to run the fuel pump, the EFI system, the fuse block, like all that stuff, and the car won't shut down. This eliminates that, because once the switch is disconnected, it only has power going to the battery here from the alternator, but the main battery cable that runs up to the starter and also powers our fuse block and all of our accessories and relays, that's on this side. So then that's disconnected and it shuts the car down. Anyhow, a bunch of mansplaining I just did there, but it works, and it works correctly and as it should. So that's now fixed. Sorry, didn't mean to blind you with the light there. If you remember back here, we had spaghetti of wiring going on. So that's now all cleaned up. Everything from the passenger compartment that runs back here has been loomed in and wired correctly. Fuel pump's been wired up. We actually have a master disconnect here, so if you ever need to remove this to service it or whatever, you don't have to cut wires, just unplug it. Our fuel level sensor is wired in. We got some wiring to fix with like tail lights and stuff like that, but that's, we want to get the car running. We'll come back and clean up all that stuff. But basically all of our accessories, everything to deal with the EFI system and makes the car start, run, all that stuff has been addressed. We got our 1 gauge negative cable here that goes directly to the roll cage bar. Now we got some grounds up here for the relay. This is the fuel pump relay, and there's a 30 amp fuse back there to run the fuel pump. So that pretty much cleans up the back end of the car. If we walk around here to the front, originally we just had stuff kind of everywhere going on. Now the coils are in, mounted, they're wired in. We've got spark plug wires are all made up. That stuff's good to go. We got our nitrous solenoids, and our purge for the nitrous is in. I still got to wire the purge up to, it's going to be on a button on the steering wheel. So once I get the steering wheel and stuff, well, I have it, but I need the adapter, and I'll run all the wiring then. Let's see here, down here we've got our MSD solid state relay block, and this is what controls our electric water pump, the electric fan. It controls the trans brake and the line lock solenoid, which is over there. I think that's all it controls. Yeah, but this is kind of nice because it's internally fused, or breaker, or however they do it. But I also, the main cable itself pulls power off of, I'll show you inside, there's a bulkhead inside that gets its power from the starter terminal, and that all goes through this breaker switch here. So in case, you know, anything bad happens, it'll pop that breaker and kill the power to stuff. We got our Holly flyback safety. That's for the trans brake, for the input on the ECU. That way we don't get voltage spikes from the trans brake release to go back to the ECU and cause damage there. And everything's loomed in here. All of our wires going down to the starter are loomed in. We've got our coolant temp sensors wired in, our fuel pressure sensors wired in. We've got distributor is stuck in, that's all synced and timed and ready to go. Oil pressure gauge is wired in. Cranked it over. Well, before I put the distributor in, we primed the engine, made sure we had oil pressure. Oil pressure is good. Then put the distributor in, cranked it over, made sure we were getting spark. So we verified that that's happening. And also made sure that our initial, our cranking timing was aligned. So like make sure our dwell and everything was set correctly in the ECU. That's working the way it should be. Got our alternator mounted up here. Alternator wire is there, as you can see. Like I said, that runs back to the kill switch. The alternator bracket is actually supposed to be for the passenger side. It's actually a nice piece of ICT billet piece, but this AN hose kind of made it difficult to mount it there. It was hitting the hose, so I ended up flipping the bracket, utilizing an existing bolt hole in the block, and then utilized the hardware that came with the alternator, and I made up a bracket here to bolt it to. So that's in. I might have to get a slightly shorter belt. The belt, like it's snug, but it could be more snug. So I got to paint this yet, but we'll address that. At least it's in, and we know it fits and it works. So that kind of gets us caught up front here. It's got oil in it now. Trans is full of fluid. We just need to put coolant in it and check for fuel leaks and stuff like that. So, but yeah, pretty much under hood is almost buttoned up completely. Got our dash in here. Here's a steering wheel Jason's going to be running. We're just waiting on the 5-bolt to 3-bolt adapter for the quick release. But once that's in, I got a button down here to go in for the nitrous purge. So we'll wire that in, and that'll be good to go. I know we talked about the seat, so Jason came over, took some measurements, got the seat in it, and really wasn't too hateful. I ended up using a piece, three pieces of 1.25" by 1.25" by, I think it's 1/8" wall square aluminum tube. So you got one under each bracket, and then there's a cross piece to tie everything together. And that kind of sits him up right where he needs to be, so he can reach the pedals, he can see out the window, and like he's comfortable in that. I just got to bolt these to the floor yet, and I need to I'm thinking about making up an adjustable brace here to go from the back of the Kirky to the roll cage, because this seat does have sliders on it. So like if you would want to slide it, just pull like a clevis pin, slide it, and try to make something there. I don't think anybody else will be driving it besides Jason, so he should never really have to move it, but you know, it'll be an option if he needs to. So I still got to make up the mounts for the passenger side seat to put that in there. So let's walk around here and we'll take a look inside the car under the dash. You saw what we started with. And I'll be honest, it's still a little chaotic. There's a lot of stuff going on underneath there, but I think it looks better than it did. So we've got our ECUs mounted here. This is a junction block for all the inputs and outputs for the 7-inch dash. Right now we're only utilizing the one input for the fuel level sensor, but we have it up there. We can easily tag into any one of the ins and outs and add a circuit there if we needed to. Here's where, so there's a main cable that comes up from the battery that powers this lug on the on-off side of the kill switch, obviously. And then this is where we pick up all of our powers for our ECU, for our factory fuse block and all that. We got some auto rod, I think it's, yeah, auto rod 20 amp relays here. This one's for the nitrous purge. This one powers the Holley coil packs. And this circuit here, this was a fused piece for the line lock solenoid. I left it in here in case I want to pull a fused power off of something. Obviously I'm not going to leave the eyelet on it because that's, you know, would be hot and could cause issues. We'll either cap it and tuck it out of the way and leave it there for possible future use, or I may remove it completely. I'm not sure yet. We got our, this is our solid state nitrous relay here. That's wired in. These are our ins and outs for the Holley EFI. So this allows us to, one, test each of our ins and outs, right? We can put a voltmeter here or a test light, make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do, and also allows us to add an in or an out quite easily, right? Instead of having to break back into the harness. Otherwise, we got everything is loomed up and ready to go. We've got, I got bad knees. Shifters installed. Jason got this trick little bracket here to raise the shifter up with the seat height. It also moves it away from the seat because it was just a very awkward setup. But this works a whole lot better. It's even got cup holders, which makes it street friendly. That's how you know it's a street car, if it's got cup holders. Anyhow, I made this modular, so to speak, so that if for some reason you would need to remove the shifter for any reason, it's got weather pack connectors on it. So for like the trans brake, line lock, yeah, and the well, my brain's not working, the neutral safety switch, you don't have to like get into the shifter and unwire any of that stuff to get it out. You literally just unplug it, take your 4 bolts out, your shift cable off, and remove the shifter, and it's out of the way. So not too hateful. Made up a little ABS cover here because there was a giant hole in the carpet and just looked all gnarly. So if I wouldn't have told you, you would have never known, and it looks clean. So that's in. Still got to mount the parachute handle. When Jason was here, we decided that it would be best to move it about from here where it was, and that's like kind of directly in line with the shifter, and we're going to move it about 2 inches over, more actually towards the center of the trans tunnel, a little bit past. And what that does is it offsets. I'm not looking at the camera screen, so I can't tell if you can see that. But that way when your hand comes off the shifter, it's more of a natural like direction back to the chute handle. And if it was here, you'd have to like go out around and then grab it. And it just, parachute's kind of like one of those things that can save your butt. So having it in a position that is very easy to access, and like you don't even have to think about it. You literally just let go of the shifter and move your hand back, and it's right there. Is a good idea to have. So we gotta do that yet. I gotta make up the other mounts for this seat, then we can get the 2 seats installed. And these are the CAN bus cables for the dash and like your USB dongle for your laptop. Once I get the glove box back in, I'll move these up out of the way and probably just roll up the excess and put it in the glove box. That way, like you're tuning on your laptop, you can pull it out. But we'll clean all that stuff up. But yeah, it's a little bit more organized, I would say, than what was in there. But at any rate, at least it's not all like just red wires everywhere. You don't know where they go. I also took some time, let me go over here and grab it, because I'm sure you've all been in a situation, if you work on cars or have a car, or you know, that if anybody else has done work, a shop, friend, buddy, whoever, that especially when it comes to wiring, you may not be sure like how something was wired up or where it goes or whatever. So I put this together for Jason here, and what I did, besides having like all of his owner's manuals for the EFI and all that stuff in here for his dash, all that, coils, I thought it'd be nice for him, and so I made up some basic, very basic, just wiring diagrams. Right, so this is power distribution. This is how the coil harnesses are wired in, right? And even tried to color the wires, label them, stuff like that. Labeled like ground, so this is like ground 1. That's at the passenger kick panel. These are how our relays and stuff are wired up. Purge buttons. That coil is powered, or yeah, this relay is powered by the Holley power tap. So you get the gist of it. And I took the time to kind of do that for all of his stuff. Inputs, outputs, the MSD relay, the nitrous solenoid. Just to make life a whole lot easier. And here's how we wired up the transmission, trans brake, how the shifter is wired in, the electric fan, water pump, all that stuff to the solid state MSD relay. And then this is our dash wiring. Gives us a reference to what each pin is. I labeled that bus bar inside just like this, so it's just a reference, you know. And then how we wired it to the fuel sending unit, fuel pump wiring, and then this is the factory Holley harness wiring. So I thought that it didn't take me a lot of time to do. I just snagged some pictures off of the interwebs and cropped like pictures of an alternator and stuff like that, and I actually used paint and just drew lines and colored them, or if I couldn't color them with the tracer wire I wanted, I just labeled them. So it makes life a lot easier when you're trying to diagnose something, especially electrical issues when you have problems. Anyhow, so that gets us up to where we're at today. So things left on the list to do. Got to mount the seats. We have to get a 1350 yoke for the differential. We measured and had a drive shaft made up, so we have that. That needs installed yet. Got to put the exhaust on it. That's over there. And the other thing that we need to address is the original parachute mount. And I'm going to show you what was done. and you'll probably get an understanding of why I don't feel too kosher about it. And then I'm going to show you what I started to do, and hopefully this works. But at any rate, this was our original parachute mount. It's a piece of 1 5/8 bar. It's got like two 40-degree bends on either end of it, and it's literally welded questionably to the floor pan of the trunk. Yes, that would be 18, maybe 16 gauge sheet metal. The chute mount is not just the chute mount, not just the, you know, the bag mount for the chute itself, but like the lanyard is mounted to it, or the tether. And then on top of that, it's a 1/4 inch bolt, and that's like 2 1/8 inch thick tabs that don't even go all the way around the bar. So it's just a whole bunch of bad idea, like all the way around. So I have a plan to fix it, and I'll be honest, not a lot of places make a chute mount for a Nova, surprisingly. Motion has one that's really nice, and I kind of stole their idea off of it. Right. Anyhow, this is a piece of 1 5/8 DOM, and I took the bumper brackets, which these are actually mounted. So the bumper bracket bolts through the back of this tailpiece, but it bolts at an area where the rear frame actually comes back, the stamped floor frame in the Nova, and that comes back and it kind of ears out on this back panel, and then the bumper is bolted to it. So it's tied in to the frame, which is then tied to the frame connectors, then to the front subframe. Originally it was held in by 3/8 bolts, and I made up these basically what do I want to call them, plates here, these steel plates, to add some strength to it, and put a 1/2 inch bolt, grade 8 bolt in it, and I ran the bar all the way through the bracket on both sides. And then from the back I'll probably make up some more of these big, basically flat washers, so that it sandwiches everything in where the bolts go in from the front. And that should tie, this is tied into the frame, and now this is tied into the bracket. So I hope that is a little bit more suffice from what we originally had. Also, where the tether for the chute actually hooks, this is now a 1/2 inch bolt, and these are 1/4 inch thick brackets that wrap all the way around the tube, that I had my brother cut out on his plasma table for me. So my plan is now, obviously I got to weld this up. I may even add some, I don't know, I don't want to get too much weight back here, but I want it to be sturdy. I may even add some plating or something, or definitely weld the top of the bracket here into the tube, but we'll see what I come up with there, or it might be stiff enough. I mean, the bumper bolts to this yet, right here, so you'll have the whole bumper tying everything together, and that should be pretty stout. But I got to cut this off. I need to reuse the post for the actual bag mount. So as soon as I find center here, I'll know where that goes, and then I can position these. This will come out where the license plate folds down, obviously, but I want it in a position where it's not going to get too much rotational drag on it. That'll cause it to twist, but that it's in the right location, that it pulls the car kind of like not up, you know. You don't want your chute to catch it and pull the tires off the ground in the back. But yeah, so we got to do that yet. The other nice thing about this is where it originally was mounted, because it came out under the bumper, is the bag was actually lower than the back of the car, like the top of the bag. My concern with that, and I don't know if it would be a problem, but my mind says it could be, is that you have a low pressure area down here and a high pressure area coming off of this, off the deck. And if it's too low, that when the chute comes out and the pilot comes out, if it gets caught up in that low pressure, it's going to get pulled under the car. So having the bag sit up above the deck lid, roughly like 3.5 inches, allows that when that pilot chute comes out, that air catches that and pulls it and helps deploy the parachute. So that's my thinking behind it. Maybe I'm completely wrong and I'm an idiot. I've been told that before and I've just accepted it. But I try my best. So yeah, we're gonna rock that, see what happens. And anyhow, so that's where we're at. So the next video you see on the Nova will probably be the parachute and get the seats mounted in there. We didn't film a lot of the wiring stuff because that's tedious, boring, and time consuming. So unless you guys want to see that kind of stuff, I can film hours and hours of it, but I doubt you do. It's easier just to show you like what we did, the finished product. And soon we'll be able to fire this thing up. And I know Jason is really getting anxious for it. It's been like 2 years since he had this car running. So yeah, that's where we're at. And all we got to do now is get back to work. So we will catch you soon. Be sure to comment, subscribe to the channel, helps us out. Check out our merch link. We got some new t-shirts and stuff up with our new logos and whatnot. You can also follow us on Facebook at J2 Garage Works. And, you know, subscribe. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you soon.